All right, have a highlighter. There's more formulas coming your way. It's not on, or what? Oh, there it is. Slow, it's afternoon, right? Okay. Mason, do you mind turning off the front lights for us? Thank you very much. All right, so leasing a vehicle. Um, you might ask, what's so appealing about leasing? Why would you want to lease a car? Uh, well, the first thing is you drive a brand new car. It's going to be brand new when you take it, and the payments are going to be less. The payments are going to be less than you buying it up front. Why is that? Why would you say that it's less, right? So we'll explore that. So leasing, right? It's like renting a car for a number of years. Okay, so you're basically in a contract, and I call it a long-term rental. Let's put that on top here. Long-term rental. You're essentially paying for the depreciation and the use of the value, because you're getting a lease, you can only get it from a dealership. You'll never get it from a private individual. It's usually the dealership, and so they know that that car is going to lose its value. You're paying for depreciation. I will underline that. The use of the vehicle plus mileage. Does that term mean anything to you, mileage? Mileage is like kilometers driven. Oh, sorry, Zach, you were going to say? No. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So what they do is they make money regardless, right? So let's say this is a brand new car. It's worth 50K when you lease it. Let's say year one goes by and you bring it back year two. Let's say it's worth 30,000 when you bring it back. So they lost 20 grand, they lost, so to speak, if nothing else happened. Let me tell you something. When you make those payments, they will charge you for sure 20K, right? Because they're going to lose that. They're going to charge you a little bit extra for the kilometers that you drive, because that's the number one thing that affects the value of your car. The number one. And they're going to charge you a little bit extra for profit. So they're not really losing, because when you bring it back and it's 30K, you have two choices. Keep it, right? Dealership, you keep it, or you can buy it. So it goes here. So they will normally tell you, hey, you want to buy this car for 30K, right? Because they already made profit with you making the lease payments, and now they're gonna get the 30K. So they're still on the up and up, right? They're still winning. If you don't buy it, they're gonna go like this. Great sale, 34K for this car. You want to buy it? It's a used car, 34K. So they made the money with your lease, and they're going to make another 4,000 on top of that. So you can always negotiate with a dealer, because they do this, right? It makes sense. They want to make money. They're in the business of making money. It's a business model. I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying that's how it works. Yeah, a lot of leases, a lot of companies, they lease cars for their employees, and then they have those used cars, and that's what you're buying. Yeah. So I'm oversimplifying this. It's probably more complex than this, but leasing, you usually think about it. If you're basically trying to cover the loss of 20 grand plus mileage plus something. That's what you're paying for when you're leasing. If you were to buy this completely, like the 50 grand, you're paying the $50,000, right? So your payment is going to be a lot higher. It's going to be like $100 or $200 a month difference. It depends on the car. So that's why a lot of young folks want to lease, because they get that brand new car smell, right? They can impress people, but you don't really gain much. I call it, I'm recording it, it's okay. I call it fleecing. It's a fleece, and that's a term that they use when they take the sheep and they cut off all that, right? That's, you're fleecing it. Like, that's basically what I call this. It's like you're getting ripped off. They take all the good stuff from you and they make the money and you're left with nothing. Okay, oversimplified, but anyways, you have the option to buy the car at the end of the lease. No surprises there. Some definitions. There will be down payment, but the down payment is not taxed. It's actually never taxed. It doesn't matter which section you're in here. You don't tax the down payment. Lease payment. The lease payment is the amount that you pay per month, but this is taxed 12%. The term of the lease, right? The term is just years that you spend, and the payments, and it's sometimes referred to as the maturity rate when it matures. Okay. Can I just say that it's not always years? Sometimes it's months. It depends on the problem, right? If it's 4 years, then it would be 48 months. If it's 2 years, it would be 24 months. I think you get the picture. Next, we have residual value. The adjusted price due to the depreciation of the vehicle after the lease, the cost to buy the car at the end of the lease. It's basically the cost to buy the car at the end of the lease. It's usually stated as a percentage, and this is also taxed 12%. Anything that is taxed in this unit is 12%. There's no 5, there's no 7, it's always 12, okay? Guaranteed residual value, it's similar. 1 second. Residual value, what should you be thinking of? Residue, you know what residue is, right? Something that's left over. So the leftover value, if you want to look at it that way. Guaranteed residual value, that's actually straight from the dealerships. A lot of dealerships use that. And so they're saying, no matter what happens, this is what we're going to charge you when you bring it back. Okay? This is stated, it's just a fixed dollar amount. Okay? So the car might be worth 30,000 new. When the lease is over, it'll be worth 18,000. So in this case, the 18,000 is the guaranteed residual value. So they're not going to like say, hey, it's going to be worth 60% of what it is today. They'll just give you, this is how much money you're going to have to spend if you want to buy it at the end. Last is the mileage cost. Most lease agreements have a limit on kilometers you can drive, right? There's a limit on the kilometers you can drive. That is very important for leasing. That is a big disadvantage of leasing. If you're gonna travel, if you're gonna be an Uber driver or skip the dishes, don't lease. You're gonna rack up the kilometers. It's gonna cost you when you bring it back. Okay. It's usually stated as like a certain number of kilometers per year. So if it's 10,000 kilometers per year that you're allowed to drive, and you sign for a 3-year lease, 3 times, why did I put 60,000? 10,000 per year times 3 would be what? 30,000, right? Let's change that real quick. Right, so sometimes they'll tell you how much per year, sometimes they'll tell you you're allowed this many altogether. The lease agreement will state the cost per kilometer. This is taxed 12%. You know what? I feel like I need to do the taxes separately, so I'm going to use a different highlighter. If you have it, great. So tax, tax, tax. By the way, the guaranteed residual value is also tax, 12% tax. So I'm using orange for all the taxing that is happening here. Okay. All right. Now that we've set the stage, I'm going to give you a few formulas. Very similar, guys. Can I just say this? I hope this sticks. I hope this does. Sometimes it gives you the kilometers per year you're allowed to drive, so you have to figure out, oh, if it's a 3-year lease, then it's 30,000, right? Sometimes the question just says straight up, you can drive 50,000. It's not per year, it's just, this is how much you can drive, okay? Okay, next page. Would you have an idea of what kilometer-wise, what's a good mileage if you're buying used? How about this? What would be bad? Like, what would be too high? 200,000 plus?
Even 175.
All right. Yeah, so you have a bit of an idea. Right, and how much you're willing to pay, right? I am mechanically inclined. I'm not a mechanic, but I look anything up on YouTube. So I'm willing to pay less and just fix anything that might break along the way. I'm willing to take the risk, right? Some folks are not mechanically inclined and you need a reliable vehicle. You can't wake up in the mornings like it's not starting. You're like, nah, I'm not taking the risk. I'm going to buy a more expensive car with lower mileage, right? So you decide. But yeah, I would definitely say the 180,000 mark is when things can start to break down, like more major breakdowns. But again, it depends if it's an import, like Toyotas, they last a long time. Hondas last a very long time. Domestic cars, not so much. They tend to not last as long. I have a Ford, so I drive a domestic, but Jeep is, I think they're known, yeah, they're good off-roading vehicles, but I don't know how reliable they are in the long term, like in terms of breakdowns, but they'll get you through almost anything. All right, back to this, okay? Good talking, but I want to make sure you know this. So if you ever need to figure out the kilometers past the limit, right? So I call this actually mileage. This is mileage, not to be confused with mileage cost. Mileage. You go kilometers minus allowance times years. The car keys? Yeah. Here, I take them. No, there. All right. All right. Um, can you please make sure you understand kilometers driven minus allowance times years, or kilometers minus just the total allowance, right? So it's either times years or minus allowance. You'll see what I'm talking about later on. The mileage cost, you take the kilometers past limit, so you take your mileage, you take the mileage, you multiply it by the rate per kilometer. This is going to be in dollars, times 1.12 to get it after tax. Okay. Total lease cost, the total cost of the lease. Careful. Down payment, do you see any taxing happening there? No. Plus the payment times 1.12 times the number of months. So this is taxed, right? 12% tax. That's where the 1.12 is in there, because that is tax. It doesn't matter where it happens in that bracket as long as it happens. Okay? mileage charge, right? It's the same as the mileage cost. So watch this. I'm just going to tell you, you would bring this answer and just plug it in there. And you need to understand this. If you did not add taxes up here, you would have to do so here, right? If it's asking you to find after tax. So that's why don't do the times 1.12 here, because I'm assuming you did that already up here. Okay, next. Total, if it's asking you for the total cost, and I'll put this in brackets, including the purchase of the vehicle, then it really boils down to this. Okay. Watch this. I'm going to do, how should I, basically the only thing different from the one on top here is that there's a residual value. That's the only difference between this formula and this formula. So the residual value, I will do this times 1.12. Total payments is this part right here. This actually is the total payments, right? Your down payment is the, right? So the down payment matches with that. Total payments matches with this bracket. The mileage cost matches with this, and then the residual value would have to be added later on. And just think about it logically, right? If I want the total cost including buying it, down, payments, mileage, and that residual value, whatever it is when you're done with the purchase. Okay, I'm going to skip the next part here. I'm going to go straight into the calculations and talk about the theory a little bit later. So let's go ahead and skip. Go ahead, skip the dishes, right? Page 33. Go to 33, please. Back to it. Have a calculator ready? Okay. Example 1, folks. Page 33, follow along. A minivan sells with an MSRP of $28,500. What is that? MSRP is just the value of the car. It's stated by the manufacturer. There is a lease. You notice that you're in leasing territory. $479 plus tax. And it has a 24-month term. Watch the timing. It could be in years. It could be in months. It depends on the wording. The down payment required is $1,500. The residual value of the vehicle, watch that, the guaranteed residual value is 62% of the MSRP. Let's do that right away. I would like to know, well, how much would that be, right? So let's figure that out right here. Residual value, you take the 28,500 and you would multiply it by 62 divided by 100, 0.62, right? Yeah. I would like to know right away, well, how much am I going to have to pay when I come back? So we're talking 17,670. I'm just going to underline that because that's important. But now I know when I bring this back after 2 years, I'm going to have to pay 17 something plus tax, right? You want to go plus tax? Let's do it. What would the taxes be? Just because I told you a little while ago, but let's think about it. Why? Who are you buying it from? Dealer. It's always 12%, right? Okay. So I'm going to put 19,790.40 after tax. So now I kind of, if I need that at all, I'm going to just go and grab it from there. Done. Okay. And I allow you to do that as long as you show the work and then you want to use this later to answer C. That's fine with me. Okay. So A, calculate the total amount paid by the end of the lease. And that's a bit of a loaded question. I want to break this down into smaller chunks, but I think I'm just going to reword it. Calculate total. So total lease cost. Let's do that. Total lease. Page 33, guys. Total lease. That's what they're asking for here. By the end of the lease. Careful here. I will do it this way. I will tell you that the total lease can be found by going down plus payments plus, is there any mileage charge here? But the formula calls for it, right? I will just show you where I get this from because I don't want you to just write things down without thinking. Okay, I want you to think. Go back to, what is it, page 30 where we had the formulas? I just want to show you where I got that from. Total lease here is down payments and mileage. Okay? In this case, we only have down payment and we know what our payments are, but we don't know the mileage charge, meaning that we omit it. Okay? So I will do this. Total lease is your down payment. Do we tax the down payment? Never. Plus, I put brackets for this guy. The payment is $479. What I normally do is I add taxes to that payment individually like that. Then I multiply that answer by how many months are there in this case? 24. And that, this in a sense gives you the payments. There is no mileage charge. Okay, so we just omit that. How about we do this plus 0? So later, 2 months from now, when you review, you know that there was no mileage. So this is 1,500 plus, grab your calculator, 479 times 1.12. Oh, there. I will just do that for now. That is one payment right there. That's one payment with tax. And I'm making 24 of those. So times 24, it makes sense that it's a big number, correct? Okay, 12,875.52. So I have this on my calculator parked there. I'm just going to add the $1,500 to it. No taxes, just leave it as is. Let me see room-wise. Is this going to work out? Yeah, it will work out if I will do it right underneath. Total lease in this case is 14,375.52. I would like to know, show of hands, is there anybody in here that knows someone or is leasing a car? Do you know someone that leases a car? Okay, now I can talk bad about leases. I'm just kidding. I'm curious. Sometimes I have a student or two that knows someone or maybe a parent, right? Real estate agents quite often have leased cars. Because did you know that first impression makes a big difference? Like if you roll up with like a rusty old car, it's like that's my real estate agent. No thanks. Next, right? So first, and that's just how it works, right? And let's cut that. We're done with A. B, calculate the total residual value of the minivan after tax. Didn't I just do that? Calculate the total residual value of the minivan after tax. I did that up here. Remember, I told you, hey, let's take that times 0. So that's done. B is the residual value is just 19,790.40. And you're like, why did he do that? Why did he do that up here? Because sometimes it's not going to ask you to figure it out. It will just simply ask, like, find a total. So I will just make an arrow pointing up. Okay, that's where the work is. So this is just leasing. This is how much it would cost to buy it. And now C is asking, calculate the total cost of leasing and buying the car out at the end of the lease. So to get answer C, simply take A plus B and you're done. So for C, it's 14,375.52 plus 19,790.40. That's 34,165.92. I should have circled this, right? Because this is answering B here. And this price, ladies and gentlemen, this has taxes included, right? Because you did anything that needed to be taxed earlier, you did it. Anything that needed to be taxed for B, you did that as well. Okay? So you, in a sense, now are looking at everything after applicable taxes. And now we're going to step it up a notch. Now we're going to introduce mileage. Okay? So this had no mileage. The one underneath, it says it right there, includes mileage charges. You ready? Are you excited? There we go. Michelle is returning a Toyota Corolla, which she leased for 3 years. What is that in months? 36 months, right? Let's put that down. For leasing, that's helpful. The original purchase price was $24,000 before taxes. Michelle paid $310 plus taxes per month. So that was the monthly payment. There was a down payment of $4,000. The guaranteed residual value stated in the contract says $15,600 before tax. That's underlying guaranteed residual value as well. And here's where I'm going to switch highlighters because it's the mileage portion. The lease agreement allows, right? It allows for 12,000 kilometers per year, and they would charge you 15 cents per kilometers if you pass the limit. Does that make sense? 15 cents for every kilometer. Do you think it will add up to a whole lot? Not if you're only over by 1 or 2, but what if you're over by 100 or 1,000, right? The vehicle is returned with an odometer reading of 41,200. I will highlight that as well. That's what shows up on the dash, right? All right. And we're assuming it started with 0 even though most cars do not start with 0 when they leave the lot because they did some test driving, blah, 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 right? Calculate the total mileage charge Michelle will have to pay after tax. Let's do that here. A. It states, if we look at my formulas, first we need to figure out the mileage. And it's saying driven minus allowed. That's in a sense how you figure it out. Somebody in trouble or what? Driven, you've driven 41,200 minus, pay attention, minus, how would I find out allowed? Read carefully. It allows for 12,000 kilometers per year. How many years will have gone by? 3. So watch this. In this case, I have to go 3 times 12,000. Does that make sense? 3 years times 12,000. I will put years in here. 3 years times 12,000 kilometers. So that amounts to, we can do this in our heads, right? 3 times 12,000, 36,000. There we go. This is too much already for me, so I'm gonna, it's pretty good, isn't it? 5,200. Times 1.12, done. Nope. Here's cost. Is 5,200 kilometers times 0.15, right? Watch this, times 1.12. So I figured out how many kilometers. Does this make sense, the 5,200? This is over limit. You need to understand that, because that, I may have gone a little bit too fast, I apologize. So when you're doing this, you figure out, hey, how many did I drive? How many was I allowed, right? You subtract that, and that's when you get that 5,200 kilometers in this case. So then the company, the dealer will say, well, you were over by 5,200 kilometers. We will charge you 15 cents for every one of those. And by the way, that gets taxed as well. Okay? So then you take 5,200 times 0.15 times 1.12, yeah. That's 873 and 60 cents. That's actually not too bad, right? Like, I mean, it is almost $1,000 just for going over, but if it's more, then an average person drives 15 to 20,000 kilometers a year. Okay, I guess it all depends on where you live and all that, but on average, that's what it is. B, calculate the cost of the lease after tax. Does this already include taxes? Okay, do this for yourself. Okay, after tax. Then you know I'm not going to double tax. Okay. So I'm going to cut it right here. And what is this asking for? Total cost of the lease after tax. So this is TL, total lease, after tax. So we need to be careful. The formula, I won't write it down again. It calls for, up there, just look up on the previous question, down payment plus, this is where I'm going to do brackets, it's $310 times 1.12 That way I'm adding taxes to the payments times how many payments did I make? 3 years, right? 36. All right, it's up there. It's right there. 36. And what do I need to add to it? Mileage, which I'm going to take from right here. 873.60. Sorry, that's a little hard to see there. 873.60. Do this in steps, okay? Don't rush. Figure out what this gives you. Go ahead and 310 times 1.12 times 36. So at this point, before you do anything, you need to understand that the down payment never gets taxed. I already taxed my payments, correct? I already taxed the mileage. So now it's just a matter of adding up. $17,372.80. You are now officially, this is just the leasing part. You're done with the leasing. Determine the cost to purchase the vehicle at the end of the lease, including tax. Can you read it carefully? Is it asking lease and buying it or just buying it? It's just buying it, correct? You're not buying it. I was trying to say you're not buying what I'm trying to say. C, total cost to buy the car. Where did you get that from? It's basically the residual value. And I will get that by, I will do it underneath here, guys. I don't have enough room. So 24 grand. No. Where's the residual value, guys? You tell me. Scan it. 15,600. You get that? You see it? It's right here. It's saying that the guaranteed residual value is this. So then you just go 15,600 and tax it 12%. And that's 17,472 exactly. You're done. Can I add one thing here? D. What is one payment after tax? If I just asked you, hey, just give me what would the one payment be after tax? What would you do? You just take the 310 and you tax it. Remember, it's leasing. Everything is 12%. 310 times 1.12. And so a single payment would be this much. So every single payment is worth actually $347.20 that you're going to have to pay. And that's also different than buying a car. Your payments stay the same. There are no taxes on that. I mean, you did pay taxes on the car, right? So there's that. Okay, so now I want you to go to page 34 and try those two questions. Read carefully. Sometimes it's just mileage. Sometimes it's leasing and mileage. You read. You have enough time to get both of them done. That is your objective. And I think I will post the key to 36 all the way to 38 would be the homework. That's the leasing assignment. Okay. If you want more, up to 38. But right now you just want to work on the next page there. What is it? 34?